Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Mr. Productivity Podcast. I'm your low energy host, Mr. Productivity. And before we introduce my guest, or before I introduce my guest, because you will not be introducing my guest, that'd be weird. I want you to head over to my website, MrProductivity.com, MISTER, MrProductivity.com. What do you get when you get there? You can find out about everything you want to know about me. Go check out my About page. You'll find some idiosyncrasies and quirks about me, and you can sign up for my email newsletter if you want. But anyways, other than going to MrProductivity.com, I want to introduce to you Julie Delucca-Collins. I was on her show last week. And of course, we have no idea when you're watching this episode or listening to it, but we had such a great time. I did something I have never done as a guest on someone else's show. I said, Julie, you got to come on my show. And here she is, less than a week later. She is a Tiny Habits certified coach. We are going to talk about tiny habits and the power of tiny habits. But before we dive in, Julie, did you want to say anything before we kicked off this extravagant must listen to episode?
I have to say, I'm really excited to be talking to you on a Monday because Mondays tend to be that day that you're like, oh, okay, let me get started for the week. And it's low key. But I love having high energy. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
As you found out on your show, I identify as Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. I am this naturally excited. And today is I'm more excited. Now, we just recorded this episode last Monday on the 10th. So I roll these episodes out right away. Yeah. So this is like brand new stuff. The ink is wet, so be careful where you touch on the screen. Okay. But today, when I'm done here, it's WWDC. I'm one of these Apple geeks. I actually watch the keynotes live.
You do?
And I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm just a dork.
Oh, I go in and I do the highlights. I'm one of these people that I need highlights because I'm like, okay, just give me the rundown. What's the net?
I'm a dork. So what can I say? I'm an Apple dork.
No, you're fine. It's all good.
Now, everybody talks about Atomic Habits, James Clear. Great book. Mm-hmm. It's been on a New York Times bestseller since Jesus walked the earth.
Yeah.
But then somebody, and I don't know who introduced me to BJ Fogg's Tiny Habits, but I shared on your show, this book got me to floss my teeth. And I hate flossing my teeth. But he breaks it down so simple. So what he talks about in the book is just floss one tooth. You can't. We're not going to stop at one tooth. And the point is to get started. So tell us a little bit about, you actually know BJ Fogg. You actually know him. You actually get certified through his organization. So tell us a little bit about your love of Tiny Habits.
Okay. So thank you so much. This is one of my favorite topics and it gets me really excited. I read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and I loved it, as most people do. And I started to try to incorporate that into my life. And you know what? I had a really good mentor, my dad, and he was a very habitual person. So from a very young age, habits have been this thing that are the elusive standard that I needed to have, I needed to incorporate, but there was always a breakdown. So I thought, I'm going to read this habits book and everybody's going to be raving about it. So I need to learn it because I need to get there. And it was good. I could incorporate some stuff, but there was a piece missing and I couldn't figure out why. I went and I read The Power of Habits by Charles Duhigg. And again, it was just something was not 100% clicking for me. And I was still struggling. And I kept thinking, how do I get motivated to do the thing? How do I get motivated? And soon this is going back to the pandemic time. We were in lockdown 2021. And I was in this little thing called Clubhouse. I don't know if you were in Clubhouse at all.
Is that still around? Clubhouse still around?
Yeah, but I haven't been in there. But I accidentally clicked on it the other day and it was like, I didn't even know what was happening. I'm like, I need to get out of here. This is a little overwhelming even for me. But yeah, I was one of the first adopters for Clubhouse. I joined at the end of 2020 and Androids were not allowed on Clubhouse at the time. Very small people.
Oh, you're one of those people.
I'm one of those people. Yeah. And all of a sudden I had it playing all the time and I was jumping in and trying to learn. And one of the things caught my eye and it said Tiny Habits. And I thought, oh, let me go in there. And of course, here's BJ. And there was another woman. Her name is Sarah. And I just kept listening. I'm like, what is this Tiny Habits thing? And it started to make sense. Some of the concepts, again, from Atomic Habits were there. And then I, of course, went to Google and I found out that Dr. BJ Fogg is the founder of the Behavior Lab at Stanford University. He has been studying habits for over 20 years, and all of the research in James Clear's book is based on BJ's research. I thought, oh, let me check this guy out. And I started to really be able to just listen in, learn. And at the time, I was also doing additional research for my book. My book is called Confident You, Simple Habits to Live the Life You Have Imagined. The way that the book is broken down is just the anecdotes of women and one cool dude who have had an impact in my life and who taught me their habits that made them successful and helped them build their confidence. So definitely I was incredibly fascinated by all of this. And as I started to understand the power of how tiny habits work, I thought, wait a minute, I not only need this for myself, but I need to get certified on this so that I can teach it to my clients. And that's exactly what I did. I decided to go through the certification in 2021, and it has been one of the most transforming things I have done for myself. It is the framework that I also use as a business strategist with my clients. And it really is something that can allow you to become the person that you want and live into that identity by creating the habits that will that will support that identity. So that's how I got started. And BJ is phenomenal, by the way. As a member of the Academy, I still get to learn from him every week. I've had the honor of also teaching with his sister, who is the co-founder of the Tiny Habits Academy. And it has been an incredible journey. So I'm super passionate about this.
I can tell. And you said a word. What was that movie where it said, you had me at hello? Was that Jerry Maguire?
Yeah, you had me at hello. That's how it was. Absolutely. Yeah, so, that's how it happened.
Well, what you said was simple habits. That's one of the subtitles in your book. Mm-hmm. You've had me at simple because I believe complexity is the gateway to procrastination.
100%.
Complexity is the gateway to not getting the stuff done and endlessly and mindlessly scrolling at our phones. And so I love that you have the word simple in your book title. And I think that's also the power of tiny habits. It's let's keep it simple because too many people, when they want to start something, they're like, okay, this thing takes 45 steps. Let me start at step 39. No, start at step 1.
Yeah.
Step number 1. Tony Robbins says, never leave the site of a decision without taking a simple step in the direction, because it's easy to make a decision. Someday 100%. I'm gonna die.
Right.
But you don't do a simple action, so no habits or nothing happens. And then a year later you go, didn't I say I was going to do this? And you never did. And that's where I think the power of simplicity is, because you don't want to make things complex, because goodness knows there's enough complexity in our world today. So let's keep things as simple as possible.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I have to tell you that writing my book, for instance, that's a very good example. I had to create a writing habit, and I do journal daily. It's something that I've done since I was 13. And sometimes I journal a lot. Dear diary, this happened to me. And sometimes I just, I got to get my stuff done. And this is what's on my list. Or this is the one thought that keeps going in my brain, right? When I think it, I put it to ink. And that's been really powerful for me. Now, when I started to write my book, you just don't have the book pour out of you. But I knew that I needed to create that habit. So what I started to do is what is it that I already do every morning? Every morning I meditate. So what I did is after I meditate, I'm going to open the document that I'm writing my book in. And that's all I was doing. And unknown to myself, I was using the power of tiny habits to do my writing. And some days I wrote maybe part of a chapter or completed a chapter. And some days I just wrote a couple sentences, but I really did not have to rely on the motivation to write. I had to write because that was part of what I was saying and I was going to do. And when you do what you say you're going to do and you give yourselves props for that, then that's what helps to create that habit. And that's really what Tiny Habits is all about. The ABC of a habit, the anatomy of a habit, is you have to have an anchor moment. So for me, it was my meditation time. And then I did the behavior, right? That's the B. The behavior was I'm going to write a really tiny step. I'm only going to open it and write maybe one sentence. And like you said, with the flossing of the teeth, right? You're going to keep going. Okay, if I'm doing this, I might as well keep going. And then C is you celebrate. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. Because when we talk about celebration in the Tiny Habits Academy, and when BJ refers to it, it's not necessarily throwing a party or going crazy, but it's just saying, okay, good job, you did it. And giving yourselves that props. Because when you do, then your brain says, oh, I like feeling good. Let me keep doing this because I'm going to get more of that feel good. And that's really what the anatomy of a tiny habit or of any habit is.
One of the ways I track my habits, and I even track them well after the habit has been established because I like seeing the number go up. I use an app called the Streaks app. And so I've been running, for example, every day since August 29, 2017. I'm almost at 2,500 days. I don't need to track it anymore, but seeing that number go up every day is exciting. But you mentioned anchor habits. So one of the things I'm reading a book. I'm 59. I'll be 59 on June 21st. And I want to live to 110. And so what I'm trying to do is figure out how do I embrace and learn how to experience longevity. So what I do is I do a single push-up every morning. Now it's a proper push-up. It's not one of these lazy ones.
Yeah.
One of these half-butt ones. It's actually a proper push-up. From there, I go to squatting for 4 minutes. So do a push-up, squat for 4 minutes. And then if it's the weightlifting day, I lift weights or I walk in my house, whatever the case is. But I start someplace. But for me, seeing these numbers go up, I also do farmer's walks. I just started doing farmer's walks about 5 days ago. And if you're not familiar with that is, you carry like a 5, 10, or 15 pound weight, or if you're stronger, you can carry longer. And you just walk for like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. And I tell you, the longer you walk, 15 feels like 30, which feels like 60, because it's about your stability.
Yeah.
But you mentioned celebration, and we're not talking about going to buy a new car or something like that. But I think that's why I like the Streak chat, because when you finish all the habits on one page, the whole page turns like gold. And hey, I did it.
I love it.
But I think people, they dismiss the celebration.
Yeah.
I should floss my teeth. Yeah, but give yourself credit. Because you know how many people don't floss their teeth? You know how many people don't know that if you don't floss your teeth, it can cause cancer in other parts of your body? I think it's weird how it's worked out that way. But you should celebrate, not just the big things. You should celebrate all victories.
100%. And I think that this is the thing where we go into that go big or go home behavior that really prevents us from accomplishing anything, right? Because we say, oh, I'm going to launch a business, and we immediately think, I need to be successful. I need to have a website, have this. No, maybe you just say, I'm going to launch a business. And then the next day you decide, look, what is my business? Who am I going to help, right? Maybe all I need to figure out is who I'm going to help. And then give yourselves props for it. When we start with this mentality of really going big, then we get, like you said, that like paralysis. Oh, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to start. And should I do this? Or you know what? I'm going to go research it, right? A lot of people get stuck in that, where all you need to do is 1%. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a good friend of mine, and they spend, she's going to create a course. They spend so much time getting the right font, the right images, the right color scheme. And guess what? She did it for 90 days. Then she had to go get a real job, a real corporate job, because she started, I wanted to be perfect. First of all, there's no such thing as called perfection. No. But instead of getting interest and saying, hey, I'm creating this course and this is what I'm working on and stuff like that, she didn't tell anybody. And now it's done, but she can't sell it because her family needs the income. So don't do that. What you can do, and Noah Kagan writes about this in $1 Million Weekend, by the way.
Oh, I love that book.
The power of validation. See, I used to think validation was Julie telling me, Mark, that's a great idea. No, validation means you come up with an idea and you're like, okay, I'm going to charge $997 for this. But if you get in on the ground floor before you even start building it and you pay me $197, okay, if I don't create it, you get your money back, but your price is locked in, but they give you their credit card number. That's validation. Now, sounds like a great idea. I may buy it. No, when they give you your credit card number, that means it's validated. And when I read that in Million Dollar Weekend, I'm like, wow, that's validation. Because when people say they will buy it, when you get the product done, they go, hey, Julie, you going to buy it? Now it's funny because now they have to pull the credit card out. So the power of validation
100%.
is incredible. So don't waste your time creating this great product. Get interest going, see if people, and give them a really good deal if they get in and say, look, even if I don't create this, you'll get your money back. So you have no loss of risk. I just hold on your money for a little bit. And if no one pays you, then you don't go through and create the course that no one's going to buy anyways.
Yeah. I have to tell you that when I launched my business, and I had been coaching here and there part-time while I was still in corporate, knowing that someday, right? But someday came, I got laid off. And the first thing that I did, I'll never forget. I got the call at 5:00 on a Tuesday. Wednesday, I was on my LinkedIn reaching out to people. And what I did is, and I knew I had a cushion, but what I did is I said, hey, I'm going to be consulting. I'm going to be doing some coaching and strategy sessions. Would you be willing to sit down with me? You know that this is one of my strengths. I'd love to give you a strategy session. And I just need a retainer. I collected a retainer from 3 people. Guess what? So I did that. And when I read this in Million Dollar Weekend, I thought, look who did that. Pretty brilliant. But again, I think that this is where people go wrong. They think that their idea is the be end of all ideas. And it could be a great idea, but it may not be the idea that people are willing to pay for. And that's 100%. The important thing that we need to pay attention to.
All you really need to do if you want to start a coaching business, all you need to get is a Zoom account, and you need to get a Stripe account, which is free, and just say, hey, it's going to cost you $100. Here's the link. You don't need a website. Websites are nice. Being on social media is nice, but you got to try to keep things simple. And I'm a big fan of simplicity. I look around the world and things are so complex. And people, you probably do the same thing. You're like, why is this so complicated? Like this morning before we started recording, I had to change my email address on some site, but because I stupidly I signed up through Google. I'm like, how do I disconnect it from Google? Because I'm trying to de-Google my life. And so I'm using a different email address. Now they didn't have a support thing on their website. So I had to hit them up on X and say, hey, I'm connected to Google. And why is it so complicated? Why can't I just disconnect? Another example, I just told my wife last night, when you're running out of room on your phone, whether Android or iPhone, why is there not a button that says, remove all photos from my phone? In other words, suck them up to the cloud. Just let me see the thumbnails. No, it'll do it automatically in the background, but maybe I just am at an important event and I'm running out of space. Why can't I just say, take all these videos, all these pictures, so I'll see the thumbnail, but they're no longer on my phone? Why has it got to be so complex? These are things I understand, because complexity gets people going, forget it. I'm going to do something else.
Absolutely. I have to tell you an example of how and you're going to like this because I know that you like him on YouTube. I learned a trick from Ali Abdaal. And you know how we end up with our email like being so overcrowded, and then, I got to check email. And for me, I check email in the morning, in the afternoon, maybe half an hour, and I just skim through. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on open. I did it a few weeks ago because it was getting to the point that I'm like, I got to check email. And even though I only do it for half an hour, I was getting really overwhelmed because the number was going up. So I went in and I set up a rule so that anything that had unsubscribe in the body of the email, it would just take it out of my inbox and put it in another random to check. And then when I went in and I started to look at all the stuff that was in there, I'm like, you know what? If anybody needs me that is in this that I'm about to delete, don't send me another email. So I just deleted. And it was so freeing. And we're so afraid to take an action like that because, what if? So what if, right? Just like the person that keeps all their clothes. And by the way, I have been guilty of that because someday maybe I'll need it or I'll fit into that. If you need it or you'll fit into that, you'll get another one that's even better.
Yes. I want to say one thing on an email. So I'm really protective of my email, but every once in a while I'll go in my email inbox. I'm like, why am I signed up for all these emails? And I'll just go through unsubscribe. They may be really valuable email, but I don't have time to read them. What am I going to do? Keep archiving them? Keep snoozing them? If I find myself moving things to a folder or labeling or snoozing for a week or two, I'm like, unsubscribe. Because guess what? If I really wanted the information, I can really find the information again. But we are inundated with so much stuff. And I just challenge the listeners or the viewers, if you keep archiving or deleting emails that you signed up for, including mine, okay, including mine, then just unsubscribe, because most email service providers like me and Julie, we're paying for those to send you emails. If you're not reading it, it's not going to hurt our feelings if you unsubscribe. Because when people say, I signed up to your email list, I'm like, why? I don't get paid for it if you do it. They're like, hey, I signed up. I'm like, okay.
Celebrate.
I don't understand. I don't understand. I want you to sign up if you're going to read the emails. But if your inbox has 99,999 unread emails, you're probably never going to read my emails. So just follow me on social media. It's funny is I've gone through these periods. Everybody tells you build your list. Now I'm down to 2 metrics. I'm to how many calls, like I offer people who never taken advantage of this, they get a free 45-minute call with me. Now, you got to fit some criteria. It's not just anybody. And people give me their credit cards. Those are the 2 metrics. I don't care how many people view, comment, share, repost, and subscribe. I care about the money I'm making and the coaching sections I'm giving, because that's where I'm really helping people. You signing up for my email newsletter, I know you may never read it. You may download my podcast. I hope you listen. I hope you're listening to this podcast with Julie, but I know you're busy. I know you may be listening to this podcast while you're walking the dog and you're texting your friend. We get that. We are trying to multitask, even though our brains can't multitask. And I just want to go back to that word we already talked about. Simple. How can you simplify your life? Because Tiny Habits is all about simplifying things. And I would even add to that, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this, not only simplifying, but slowing down. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that when we rush, and by the way, I love rushing. However, I've trained myself to definitely slow down, mainly because there is a power in the pause. There's so much power in pausing. And again, as I'm getting through an activity, and maybe we want to hit send, maybe we want to get through the next activity because we're going to feel so productive, right? What we need to do is just take that moment and not rush through something. Sit on it for a little bit, and you'll see that what you thought was the sky is falling today may not have that much of an influence in what is going on in your life tomorrow. And when we create these sense of urgency for ourselves, when there is no urgency, then we're really taking a toll on ourselves and our spirit and our frame of mind. And for instance, I've started to wear a little uniform for myself daily. Why? Because I don't want to drain my brain. I'm like having to think, what should I wear today? Or what?
Hey, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't. Steve Jobs did.
Absolutely. And I thought it was crazy. And then someone said, you should have a capsule wardrobe. I'm like, that's crazy. I have a beautiful big closet that can fit all the clothes in the world. But what I'm finding is that if I wake up in the morning and I'm trying to get ready for the day, I don't want to have to think about, okay, what am I doing today? Who am I meeting? What should I wear? So I pretty much stay on brand. Pink, red, black. Those are pretty much the colors you're going to see me wear. Why? Because they go with each other. They're on brand. I don't have to think much, and I'll just grab it and go. But it really is, find the ways in which you're giving your brain a break so that you have the energy and bandwidth to be able to invest into the things that actually give you more bang for your buck.
We were actually talking about this before I hit record. So when I was on your show, I always wear an all black t-shirt.
Yeah.
But on my show, it's my show. So I wear my shirt that says, because I'm a big TOA guy. I don't have to worry about offending the host because I am the host. I only have 2 types of shirts I wear, not including the black shirts I wear for other people's podcasts. I'm a big Man City football fan, the Premier League European football. I have a whole bunch of their shirts. And then I have a whole bunch of shirts that are it's got AR-15s on it, clocks on it, all kind of shirts I wear. People know, what shirt's he going to wear today? It's going to be a Man City shirt. It's going to be a shirt about guns. That's how I am. And I don't have to think. I have all my shirts like Marie Kondo in my, and the new ones go on the back, the clean ones go on the back, and I rotate it. And I don't worry about, I'm not here to impress you. I'm married to my wife who loves me. I'm not trying to impress people, even though I get all those, I'm sure you get those DMs from guys saying, hey, baby, I get them too. It's a sad start of social media. But I want to ask you about something that I started doing, because both you and I are both, we love journals. I never called mine a diary, called a journal.
Okay.
But one of the things that I ask myself every night is, what productivity grade would I give myself today? And I grade myself A, B, C, D, or incomplete. And I'm really harsh on myself. I very rarely give myself an A because I'm like, okay, yeah, you had a great interview with Julie. Or example, last week I had an interview with somebody, and my role in my business is I do the podcast, and then my wife does all the post-processing. So if I just do the podcast, it's a great day. But if I start doing her job, now I have to ding myself because that's not my job. That's what she does. I'm not supposed to do that. So what do you think about asking yourself at the end of every day, what productivity grade would you give yourself? Do you like that idea?
Yeah, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. And I don't do it at the end of the day, but I typically will go in and I will look through and look at my diary for the day or my journal. And actually, it's on my screen. I use a Chrome extension called Momentum, and I put in my top thing that I need to get done today. And that's what I'm looking for. This is the one thing that I said moves me forward. This is the one thing that if I do this, then I am getting closer to the things that I want to have done. I use the 12-week year as a framework for my business, and this is what I teach my clients as well. So I do look at that, and I will say it's either a pass or fail for me. Okay, I didn't do it. And then I look at, not only am I moving it for tomorrow, but I look at how can I do this and where in my day will I accomplish this, as opposed to just saying, oh, I'll just move that to tomorrow, but not have a real plan behind it. Because we have to have a plan. Many people think, okay, I'm going to put it on my list. You can put as much as you want on your list. And I learned this from Gretchen Rubin. So when I look to see if I accomplish that, that goes in my to-do list. I'm like, oh, to-do, I finished that, as opposed to the to-do, right? And that has been really impactful, because when I look at the thing that I did, that was the most important thing I needed to get done today, and I did it, and I'm like, ta-da, I did it. My brain feels good. So it makes me want to do it again tomorrow. So it goes back to the premise of behavior design and tiny habits.
Yeah. And I asked myself two journaling prompts. Well, I answered two journaling prompts in the morning. One of them is, what is one thing I need to do? Now, this goes along with what your one thing for the day is. Mine is, I'm doing this Alex Hormozy $100 million leads warm reach out thing. So I write down warm reach outs. That's what I need to do. But the next question I ask is really convicting. What is one thing I'm avoiding? And for the longest time, I was writing, creating my Grand Slam offer. Now, you can't see it on the video or hear it on the watch on the audio. I got a whiteboard back there. I finally started working on it. So I came up with something else. And my new thing is inviting qualified people onto my free 45-minute call. You want to know how to get that? If you qualify, go to MrProductivity.com, sign up for my email newsletter, and the instructions are in there. It's free if you're serious about it. But I wasn't asking people or inviting people that. I was like, they're going to, oh, he's got a free call. So, but my point is, when you journal, and you write down, what is something I'm avoiding? And you write it down day after day. After a while, you're like, dang, I need to do this thing.
I better do
because you don't want to write that same thing over. So 100%. I know that I stopped there awkwardly when you were going to take a sip. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So that's what you do, because I believe Pareto's principle is alive and well. I believe we should spend 80% of our days working on needle moving activities. Yes, 20%, 100%. You got to do the admin work that doesn't move the needle. But do you agree with me that 80% of your day?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that this is where people, and I was even having a conversation with a client, believe it or not, last night. We belong to a group for women, accountability, blah, blah. And this is how she started working with me. But she said, hey, I have a question for you. Do you mind? And she's been going through some stuff. And I said, sure, let's jump on a phone. And that's exactly what I said to her. You're spending your day doing the things that don't move the needle for you. And then what happens is that you didn't move the needle for the day. So the next day, it becomes harder. And in your brain, you already made this whole story up that I'm a failure, or it'll take too long, or whatever it might be. But the needle moving activities, really spending that 80%, making sure that this activity is actually the thing that gets you to the next step. So for instance, for you, doing warm outreach, that is brilliant. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs don't do that. They're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go work on my social media. And I'm going to create my little social media post. And then they're like, oh, but I need inspiration. I'm going to go scroll online, right? And see what everybody else is doing. And then you're down the rabbit hole. And then you get the person who is, oh my God, they made $1 million with the post and I'm not making anything. And then you feel like a loser.
Yeah.
Right? Does that not sound familiar? Because by the way, let's normalize that we've all been there. And this is why for me, Tiny Habits helps me refocus. What is it that I am working on today that is moving me in that direction? And it only has to start with maybe opening up if I'm working, maybe I am working on social media or my blog content or planning my podcast for the next 12 weeks. It means that I'm opening up the document and I will work on, right?
What's interesting is I call it hiding when you're working on the 20%, because if I don't want to do something, I would go and create a podcast, but that's not moving the needle. So my wife works with me. And so, like I said earlier, when I'm done with this podcast, she'll do everything. She'll do all the social media posts, she'll do the video editing, stuff like that. When I create my shorts, like if I'm on your show, I record myself, use my iPhone, she creates all the shorts. So we've agreed. I do two things. I create content and then I build relationships because I am the brand. If I want something to tweak on the website, if my wife catches me, she goes, what are you doing? She says, that's my job. Yeah. Because she's holding me accountable. She goes, no, this is what I do because I'm not the face of the brand. Yeah. And I've got to worry, me tweaking a paragraph on my website is not going to get me clients. So I may say here, I said, look, I think we need to adjust the about page. And then what she'll do is she'll go and tweak it, but I won't. I shouldn't be doing that stuff. And if you're a business owner, if you're a small or medium-sized business owner, even if you're a big company, are you doing things that, one, you're really good at, and number two, you should be doing? So I teach this principle called the O-Day method. Stands for outsource, delegate, automate, and eliminate. And I teach people what you need to do is go through everything you're doing, make a list 3 to 4 days, and then sit down uninterrupted for 90 minutes and think about which of these things can be outsourced and then outsource them. What can be delegated? Delegate them. What can be automated? This is 2024. Automate them. What can be eliminated? Are you doing stuff that you're doing because it's always been done, but it doesn't need to be done anymore?
Oh, 100%.
Get rid of them. And here's the thing. Here's the magic. People usually stop at the O-Day method there. Here's where the magic happens. Now you have all the space on your calendar. Don't fill it up with useless crap. Stay in your zone of genius. You just went through this exercise.
I had someone once tell me, and I must have been 15 when I heard this. And to this day, I say it to everybody. Do what you do best and delegate the rest. Yes. When I climbed the corporate ladder, honestly, that was one of the things that helped me get to the next level of every position. Knowing that my zone of genius is the relationship building. My zone of genius is actually the big picture strategizing. My zone of genius is actually delivering the service to my client and coaching them. My zone of genius, honestly, is not the podcast production. It is not I will write out the social media, but I give it to somebody else to do the graphics and all that and schedule it and do all that minutia. Not that I don't know how, because I had to learn how so I could teach that person. However, very similarly, my husband and I have a very similar relationship to you and your wife. He does the tech and he does the thing. And then we have other staff that we work with, but I'm the talent. The talent is up front. The talent that talks to the people. The talent is putting their self out there. And
Do you feel that when you're in your zone of genius, because I know what I feel, I want to know, I want you to answer first. When you're doing things in your zone of genius, do you feel less stress?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, me too.
It's like you dance through the day. I will tell you, there is so much that people put in their plate. And I love that you talk about the do, the delegate, the delete, because that's what people really don't incorporate into what they're doing and into their business. This morning, I actually dropped off my husband at work and I had an errand to run far away. And on the way home, I actually took the long way home. I said, "Yeah, take the highway." And it was a beautiful day to go for a ride. And it's a Monday morning. And guess what? I wasn't stressed. I wasn't rushing. Why? Because the stuff that needs to get done for the business is getting done. And the things that I need to do, my first appointment, you're my first appointment for the day, which I was really excited about, right? But again, this is the thing that a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, I got to do this. I need to put the stamp on that letter. I need to be the one doing this. I need to be the one who orders the toilet paper for the business." Oh, you don't.
I like to ask people when they tell me I got to do this on this weekend, I'm busy. And I'm like, "Yeah, I got one question for you." I'm like, "What? Why? Amy, why? I got to get done." No, why are you doing it? And when I ask people that, they pause and they're like, and I can see the wheels start turning in their heads. Yeah, why am I doing it? I got a 17-year-old kid, he can cut the lawn because they're worried about cutting the lawn. So ask yourself, listener, viewer, why am I doing this? Because if it's within your zone of genius and you love doing it, great. After people telling me for years, go have someone else cut your lawn. I was cutting my lawn. And they're like, "Are you a lawn guy?" I'm like, "No." Guess what? I pay this guy $40 every time he comes out. He does a way better job than I do. That's his zone of genius. Why? So when he's cutting my lawn, I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing, being the brand of my business.
Yeah. I love that you said that. I was just going to give you the example before you talked about your lawn. My husband, again, he works in the business and we have a podcast production and he's wonderful at what he does. But all of last summer, he was so stressed because it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, the lawn really needs to be cut." I'm like, I'm going to get somebody. He's no way. I do the lawn here. I'm like, "You got to be kidding me." So we really butted heads on this. And you know what I did at the beginning? I met her at the end of the summer, last summer. And I thought, you know what? This girl, she lives down the street. Her parents live there. She's 20 something. And she wanted to start landscaping. And she put signs everywhere. So then I actually called her and I said, "Hi, I saw your parents' lawn. But I also noticed that the signs that you have, they're very difficult to read. I said, I can't see the number as I'm driving. You need to put a big QR code in the middle of it so people can scan it."
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyhow, then I texted her and I said, "Hey, are you doing lawns?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Perfect. You're hired." So I hired her and my husband's, "You did what?" Oh, and I have to tell you, best thing ever. I can go outside and he can do what he's doing because he still has a full-time job and he does his tech and podcast recording and editing, whatever. But now he can sit outside and have a drink with me as opposed to, "Oh, I should be cutting the lawn," or, "Oh my, what are the neighbors going to think that the lawn is not done?" And the one thing that I pointed out to him, we were pulling out of the driveway, and then all of a sudden I'm like, "Look at the edge on that lawn. That's really good." And he's, "Yeah, I never got to do that because it's so annoying." And I'm like, "See how nice it is that we have it and that we didn't it's nothing. And it's helping her because the bottom line is when you delegate to somebody else, that person, that's what they love to do."
I saw a YouTube video last night. I love comedy videos. And this guy was talking about how his wife likes to cut the lawn. And so when she came up to him and said, "I want to cut the lawn," he goes, "Okay, but first you need to go to all the neighbors, let them know that you're the one that wants to cut the lawn so they don't think, who's it?" Yeah, I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah,
one of the things I want to get, I think I first heard this from Dean Graziosi. I want a home executive. So one of the things my wife won't do is have someone shop for us because she's really picky about her meat. She's really picky about the vegetables.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to get to a point where I can have a home exec. You train them how to shop.
Yeah.
And she goes, okay, I'll let it go, because I said, I'm finally almost got my wife, and she edits this, so she's going to laugh at this. I said, stop shopping for the sales. If you want to buy, I don't care if you have a coupon, it's on sale, buy it. Like, I only have 16.9 ounces of Diet Coke. I don't want the 2 liters. I don't want the cans. I don't care if they're on sale, because I believe part of it is a money mindset, it's a scarcity mindset. If you're always shopping for sales, I want Diet Coke, but I'll get this. It's got Diet. So my point is, there's ways that you, I know where it's going. I lost my train of thought. Every time you go shopping, it's costing you money.
Yeah.
So if you go from one store, it's $1 cheaper at the other store.
Oh my gosh.
Your time is worth something. It's in your car and driving away. You're better off buying it at the first store, because I don't think you and I get this, Julie.
100%.
Your time is worth something.
Yeah. I have to tell you, and I know your wife is going to listen to this. Nobody else can do the shopping as well as I do it. And I have to tell you, I will shop and I have to okay, is this one better or is that one better? And I stopped shopping. First of all, I hate doing it. And once I'm there, I is this choice better than the other one?
Yep.
However, now I'll go to Trader Joe's. I don't mind Trader Joe's because I'm a New Yorker, so I'm in and out. I don't have to go to the big grocery shops like we have here. I go in and I go out. Now, I have my groceries delivered. And what? It's going to be like $5 extra, and then I'm tipping somebody else another $5. I don't care, because my hourly rate is much higher than that extra $10 that I'm going to spend. And if I can take that hour and spend it in front of someone that needs me and is going to make an impact for them, then it's a win for everyone.
100%. 100%. And someone may be listening to this and go, I don't know what my hourly rate is. Then pick one, $50 an hour, 70.
Absolutely.
Pick something, because you pick that number. We already mentioned the word anchor. You anchor. Okay, I'm going to say I'm worth $75 an hour, which is not a lot of money. I'm worth $75 an hour. Then when you say grocery delivery is $25, that's expensive. No, my rate is $75, so I'm saving $50. But you got to have the anchor of what your value. And please don't overthink the number, because you can change it. And I know I can just imagine people going, the piece of paper, 25, no, maybe 30, 32, 50. No, don't overthink it. It's the worst thing you can do.
Don't overthink it. This is the one thing too that I did when I launched my business. I'm like, oh, what are my rates going to be? And of course, I do have a system that I teach people, but I basically went, and when I used to speak and someone would pay me or pay the company that I worked for me to come in and do the work, this is what we charged per day. It was a $10,000 day for a couple hours. So what is that for me? And that's how I started to figure it out. And don't overthink it. Just pick a number. Find out what your freedom number is for what you want to make in a year, divided by the number of hours you want to work. And I hope you're not putting that you're working 24/7, because you shouldn't be. Or 40 hours. If you're an entrepreneur, you became an entrepreneur for the freedom.
Yes.
So decide what your schedule is going to look like.
Yes.
And then back into the number from there. That's the best thing you can do.
I'm glad you said that, because the only sport I watch is the real football, which we call soccer in America here. And most games are on Saturday morning because they're played over in Europe. Yeah. But every once in a while, they'll have a game during the week and at 2:00 in Houston time. And I will watch a game and people go, aren't you supposed to be working? I'm like, dude, I'm an entrepreneur. Right. I scheduled my day around this game. Like I told you, I'm going to watch WWDC. It's on my calendar. So I work before WWDC and I work after it. You can do that when you're an entrepreneur. So 100%. If your kid's recital at school is at 2:00 in the afternoon, you don't have to ask permission off. You just go to your schedule, make sure no clients can book, and then you go to it. I love the freedom. I am not wealthy like Mark Zuckerberg or something like that, but I love freedom. And I think people don't talk about the freedom. I think the guy I've heard talk the best about it was Gary Vaynerchuk. He said, I know people who make $50,000 a year. They go to all their kids' events. They're always home for supper and they're happy. And I know people who make $50 million a year who are miserable because they're always gone. And I'm a big fan that, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I think it's more important to chase happiness than money, because if you chase happiness, I think you are wealthy.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, as you were speaking, that's exactly what, for me, the definition of success is. My definition of success is being able to call the shots. No one can book an appointment with me on a Friday afternoon. Why? Because it's 5 o'clock somewhere in my house. Or I want to sit outside with the dogs, or if it's winter, I want to cuddle on the couch and read a good book. And that to me is success, because I am not worried about that. Oh, how much money do I need to have in the bank? We may not have the money that Mark Zuckerberg has, but we have the freedom to say, yes, I will work with this person. No, I won't. I want to be able to sleep late on those days, or maybe go out to lunch with a girlfriend. And these are the things that really people value. They value the money in the bank. They value that status. But research says that if you make anywhere between over $100,000, you're going to be looking to make $200,000. You're not going to be satisfied. If you're making $200,000, you want to make $500,000 or $1 million. And there's always something that you're chasing. If your basic needs are taken care of, guess what? That's successful, because the relationships are the ones that at the end of the day fulfill you so much more. When my dad died, one of the biggest things that I remember is that I could go and I could be with him, because it wasn't how much money I had in the bank, but it was that I had the time and the conversations with him.
That is an excellent point. My mother got diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2018, and then she declined rapidly. I live in Houston. They lived in Central Florida. And so 2 to 3 times a year, I was in a plane out there to spend time when my mom had to be put in assisted living. I was there for my dad, and I kept going back and forth until my dad passed away in April of 2023. But if I work for a corporation, they may say, well, you're out of PTO.
Right.
And again, the freedom. I don't have a private plane yet, although that's one of the things I would love to have, because I hate going to the airport and the traffic and all the TSA and stuff like that. I may never have a plane, but guess what? You can actually sign up for like NetJets for a lot cheaper than buying a plane.
100%.
So I believe in dreaming big. But if you want to look at someone like Elon Musk, one of the richest people in the world, he doesn't have a lot of time. He's always going. That has no appeal to me whatsoever. I could not imagine Elon come to my house and watch a 2-hour football game. He'd be on his phone because that's his bed. And that works for him. He's got a lot of kids. I guess he's married. That's what he wants to do. Yeah. I don't want to be that busy. I'm like you. Now I live in Houston. You live, what state do you live in?
I'm in Connecticut.
Okay. We like our downtime. I do work on the weekends, but I don't work 8 hours. I'm on social media engaging with people, but that's by my choice. I don't have to be on social media. I do it because I want to. And I just want people to understand that you too can have the freedom. But if you're going to go from $100,000 to your corporate job to make $100,000 as an entrepreneur, you got to work a lot longer. So manage your expectation. But I'm glad we met, because you and I are so alike. Our marriages are flipped, because my wife does the work and your husband does the work on the back end, but it's great. So before we wrap up, I want to ask you, is there anything we didn't talk about on the show that you want to make sure the listeners leave with before I ask you where they can find out about you?
I want to encourage the listeners that if they want to learn tiny habits, the Tiny Habits Academy has a free 5-day coaching. And if they connect with me, I will send them the link. And we don't try to sell you anything, but we teach you the framework of how to create tiny habits. And by the end of the week, most people that have participated in the program, and we have hundreds of thousands of people, 98% of them say that they were able to set up new habits. So I encourage people to go and do that. And that's one of the biggest gifts that BJ and the Tiny Habits Academy has, that I love participating, and I love coaching individuals that go through that, because I know how impactful it's going to be for their lives and for their mental health to be able to have these tiny habits in place for themselves.
Excellent. So where can we go to find out more about you and the dent you're putting in the universe?
Thank you. Go Confidently Services is who my business is. My podcast is Casa de Confidence. But find me definitely at goconfidentlyservices.com and connect with me on any other social medias. Julie Delucca-Collins.
I'm going to try to remember, and hopefully my wife will get to this part of the podcast and put the link to the episode I was on your show.
Yeah.
That was a really good show. You said I did a good job. You had a lot of
You're
fun.
Excellent. We had
So
a blast.
I think, don't make my head get any bigger there, Julie. I will enlarge my doors here. There was a great conversation. It's more of a productivity than this one, but it was a great podcast. Yeah. And I think the listener and the viewer needs to go back and watch that one or listen to that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen. Is it out here? It's out. Is it out yet?
It's not out yet, but what I will do, I will send it to you. I will send you the raw file so that you can have that and you can just add.
When's it going to be out?
Let's see. My production calendar is not in front of me, and I have to go back and look at it.
The link is probably not going to be, but that's okay. What you should do is go subscribe to our podcast. That way, when it comes out, you'll get to hear it. There you go. I don't want to put it on the spot.
No, you do it. Casa de Confidence. You can listen on all the podcasting platforms. We're also on YouTube, so we're going to throw the link. We're going to throw the episode up there too.
Okay, you can throw it up on X if you're X Premium. Throw it up on my Facebook page.
That's the one place I'm not in. I have to pick your brain. I'm so afraid of X. Oh, it seems like a dumpster fire.
Here's the thing. Folks, if you're still watching, this is like the end of the podcast, but we keep it rolling here. So here's the thing. A lot of people tell me, I have a lot of friends who are LinkedIn only. Oh, there's a bunch of cesspool over on X. I'm like, I don't see it. What are you looking for over there? You can find crap on any platform.
You can find crap on any
platform. I choose not to look for it. But I follow Gary Vaynerchuk's day traded intention philosophy. I post everywhere. Yeah. So I post my shorts everywhere. I even on Threads. And Threads is like speaking into an empty cavern. There's no one there. But I post everywhere I possibly can. Yeah. Because what if somebody scrolling through TikTok and go, whoa? People go, I have people tell me, well, my audience is not on TikTok. My audience is C-suite. They're on TikTok, dude.
Your audience is on TikTok. Please. I totally agree with that. I have to tell you, that's what I need to get better at. And hopefully maybe in the 3rd to 4th quarter, I will focus on maybe dipping my toe, because I am in all the social media platforms. I'm in Pinterest. I'm on, you got me back onto, what's that thing called? A Snapchat. Yeah, you got me back in that. So I'm in there. But yeah, so I think that the reality is that content is king. And anytime that you are speaking to someone, you are creating content. So why not share it? Because you don't know how you're going to be able to change someone's day by something that you say in any given
100%.
Platform.
100%.
So, yeah.
Julie, thank you so much for being on the show. Folks, Productivity.com, MISTER, MrProductivity.com. If you're watching this right below our names, you can find the details. But if you're listening to it, you can't see the screen. That's why we do this as a video interview, and I just scrape the audio off of the audio podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Go to MrProductivity.com. Julie, again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity. I had so much fun with you. You're one of my favorite guests for sure, and I'm not just telling you that. I really had so much fun. Your energy is amazing, and people should take advantage of that call that you offer, because so needed that someone can walk you through some of the tips that you need to be able to be more productive and live the life you've imagined confidently.
Tigers rock. Tigers rock.
That's right.
All right, Julie, thank you.
All right, so long.